Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in to the COVID-19 lockdown account. Now, today I've got Dan with me. Dan is an independent landlord. He's an industry mentor and is currently in lockdown with his girlfriend in London. Dan, how are we doing today?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Thanks for tuning in.
And so, where are we now? Are we at week 10 now, Dan?
Oh, it seems like forever, but yeah, I think we're on 10 or 11, aren't we now? Yeah.
Yeah, and you were telling me just in the brief earlier on that, lockdown hasn't actually been a bad thing for you, has it?
No, it really hasn't actually. It's almost been a bit of a blessing in disguise. Obviously, taking away the issues out there and everything that's actually going on, but being confined and not having the world moving at a fast pace around you, and almost coming into the pit stop for a while, and actually working on the engine of the car rather than continuously racing around the track has been fantastic for me. It's allowed me to get the big jobs list out and have a look at those jobs that have been put off for so long, just simply because I didn't have the time to be able to do them or look at them or work on them. So yeah, it's certainly had its positives, definitely.
I think it's a story I'm hearing more and more of at the moment, that people are adapting and finding their feet a lot quicker and a lot easier than we all thought. Like humans, we adapt so quickly, and it's mind blowing to see what people have achieved. And you've actually achieved something that they said couldn't be done as well, which I thought was amazing. Which is
so I was quite impressed with myself, to be honest. I didn't think it could be done, and I wanted to sort of tread the path to see if it was actually possible. I managed to view a property just a day before we actually went into the strict lockdown.
Yeah.
I viewed it, and it had actually already had an offer accepted on it, and the property was gone. It was off the market, but the agent said I could go and have a look around, just in case if anything in the future does happen. I got very lucky. They gave me a call back and said, "Oh, actually, we're now putting this property back on the market. The purchaser that wanted to buy it has now pulled out." So I did some negotiating and actually got an offer accepted on my property number 15, which I was really excited about, but didn't really know what to kind of expect. Was I going to be stuck with a property that I couldn't go and see? Would I get tenants in it? How long? Are we going to be in lockdown? Are people able to move around? Can they move around? But I got really lucky. I mean, all the pieces sort of fell into place. It took me about a month or so to get the keys. I was able, the agent actually left the keys at their end of their drive because they were working from home for me. So I managed to get the keys with no contact whatsoever. Went into the property. B&Q being open, being a homeware store was brilliant for me. Going through the trade entrance, not really seeing anybody at all. So I actually took myself to the property and locked myself in for 5 days, fully renovated it. On the last day of renovation, actually, my agent said, "We've got somebody that's interested in it. Would they be able to come round?" So I stood out in the garden. They had a look around the property, said, "Yes, we'll take it." I finished off the renovation, came away from the property, and they actually move in today. So I've managed to buy, renovate, and let a property whilst being in lockdown and having no contact with anybody else, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, sleeping on an airbed in a room while renovating everything around me was pretty challenging, but it was done, and it's behind me now.
It's amazing. I think it goes to show that if there is a will, there's a way, and because so much was shared out there that it can't be done, no one cared to check, right? No one even just thought, well, I'm just going to go through the processes and see if I can do it.
Yeah, that's it. And at every stage, I could have come at cropper. B&Q might not have been open. It wasn't open when we first went into lockdown, so I might not have been able to get the material. I might have not been able to show people around. Luckily, the government had sort of put out how people can go about their day, as long as you're masked up and gloved up and there's nobody else there, as long as all the doors are open, the windows are open, etc. So everything just fell into place. But yeah, if I would have sat there and thought, actually, you know what, people are saying it can't be done, it shouldn't be done, and I'm going to get myself into a bit of trouble here, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So it was the case of just going through blind and hoping for the best, really.
Hope for the best. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Now, tell me a little bit about as I said in the beginning, you're an industry mentor and you kind of help people in that respect. How has that been effective throughout this time?
So it hasn't been directly or let's say hurtfully effective to the business, other than the fact that obviously the people that I'm speaking to, the clients that I'm working with, we're not able to purchase properties at the moment. You know, some of them are long distances away. The agents aren't able to view the properties, you know, and show the clients around them. So it has kind of stalled us. And slowed me down with being able. So I work with clients on a one-to-one, face-to-face basis, over the internet and over the phone. But we do everything sort of one-to-one and work through every step of purchasing a buy-to-let property. So the end goal is for them to actually physically have a house, have a property, and it usually takes us approximately 6 months. So it's just slowed down the process and drawn it out slightly. So yeah, a slight spanner in the works again, but it's not a showstopper. You know, it's given us a really good chance to go into the intricate detail, make sure all the T's are crossed, you know, and the I's are dotted as such, really.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's a great time for people to prepare, right? To prepare for the life that you want to have.
Absolutely. And I think it's, you know, even that reflection time when you've got so much time and you're so restricted in having, you know, the speed of daily normal life distracting you, being able to just sit with literally nothing to do really gets those cogs ticking. You know, it gets that mind racing, and then you actually start to think, you know, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Do I want to achieve more? I certainly sat down when we went into lockdown and had a bit of an idea that it was going to last quite a while. I certainly sat down and I said to myself, right, you know, you've kind of got two choices here. You can, you know, what are you going to tell the grandkids in the future when they're talking about the lockdown? You know, what did you do, Granddad? Are you going to tell them, oh, I sat and watched Netflix, you know, for 6 weeks or so? Or are you going to tell them what you've actually achieved? So I wrote myself a list of, you know, attempt to and buy a property, number 15, get that one ticked off. Create an online course for the mentorship. So whereas I normally do the one-on-one mentorship, let's put it online, and also write a book. So I'm getting through the list, and hopefully lockdown will just last a little bit longer for me so I can actually achieve what I set out to achieve, else I'll be very disappointed.
I'm definitely in the same boat there. When I took on this gargantuan task that I set myself to interview 100 people, I didn't realise that A, time would fly so quickly, but B, my other business, you know, my actual business, there would be so much opportunity with. And, you know, where we're trying to motor so much with that, I kind of have to make sure I designate time slots because I've got family as well to deal with. And I want to be with my kids. It's, you know, it's very easy to get caught up with the fun stuff, right?
That's it. No, for sure. And I mean, I often think I don't know how I got everything done when the world was moving so fast. I mean, the time that I've got now, and still there's not enough time in the day. I'm looking for extra time in the day, yet I'm confined to a house, you know, only going out once, going out for a 45-minute walk, you know, doing a bit of yoga and a few press-ups and sit-ups and stuff. But other than that, everything is fully focused on growing the business and what I've got going on. And I question, how the hell did I do it? How did I do it before when, you know, there was everything else involved as well?
And it's trying to find that time, and it makes you realize how deeply exhausted people are when they're trying to get something up and running alongside a day job, alongside what I would class as like a sideline or a side hustle, as people now say. And then you're trying to better yourself and still hit your own projects. It's very difficult, and it's something I'm very mindful of now. You said something about having time for reflection. And you mentioned yoga as well. Do you meditate? Do you practice mindfulness? Is there any techniques that you use?
Yeah, so it's actually been a bit of a shift for me. I used to swim a mile every morning before lockdown. Now I do have my personality type. Basically, I'm on the go all the time. I struggle to relax. So, you know, kind of sitting in front of a TV, putting your feet up and you know, doing nothing just doesn't really sit with me at all. And I struggle to do it. So I used to go to yoga for an hour a week, and also go and swim a mile every morning in the local pool. And I just found that allowed me the time to be able to switch off from actually physically doing something, and it would allow my mind just to wander, and take a look at that bigger picture, because it's so easy to almost start down one path and then with the blinkers on and just keep going, and then you suddenly realize, hang on a second, I might have taken a bit of a missed turn there, or I'm not actually going in the direction I should be going in. So yeah, I used to use that. It used to take me about 45 minutes or so in the pool, and often I would not even notice I was in the pool, forget, I'd never noticed the strokes I was swimming. It was just the mind kind of wandering of what's today gonna bring, what's on my list, what do I need to get achieved today. And then going into lockdown, that's where the struggle came. So I've changed. Obviously, I can't go into the pool and I can't go off and do my class of yoga during the week. So I've been doing a 10-minute hit of yoga every morning, 100 press-ups, 100 sit-ups every morning, and walking for 45 minutes every evening. And I find that fills the balance of allowing me just to allow the mind to think and allow me to look at that bigger picture.
I mean, it's quite nice as well about how quiet everything is as well. It gives you time to think. I mean, other than, especially around in my area at the moment. Now, we are in a busy area. We are in a village, but we're in a village which is surrounded by towns, big towns. And, we've got the A127 road just right there. And so there's a lot of movement through here, but everything is quietened right down. So when we go walking, especially with the kids and stuff, we can hear the birds, we can hear, and if you go by yourself, you don't need to plug up or anything, because there's quite a lot of stillness around that helps your mind focus or wander at the same time, which is, I'd say, definitely helped myself as well. But so what's kind of the plan moving forward? Is there have you discovered anything? Is there something you're really looking to push now?
Yeah, so the plan with New to Property, the business is called, and it came about actually a year last week, for the fact that my portfolio generates a decent income that could support my lifestyle. So basically, a passive income. My properties generate enough money for me to be able to come out of a day job and still be able to have the life that I'm currently living. However, it was actually my mum that said to me when I told her the plan that I was going to give up the day job, I was going to retire at 40 years of age, and I was going to, live off a property portfolio. And she said to me, well, for the last, 30 odd years or so, you've never been able to sit down and do nothing. So what do you think you're going to do when you retire? So I had a bit of a think about it. And I thought, well, what could I do that would be enjoyable, something that I'm passionate about and I like doing. And that then sort of came to helping others who are in their journey. I see a lot. I'm a member of a lot of Facebook groups, and there's newbies out there that are either getting misinformed or not getting the information that they need, or struggling in the path that they're trying to take. So I thought, well, I'll specialise in what it is that I do, which is buy to let, and I'll just put a company together to help those guys. And it also helps me get mortgages as well if I've got a minimal income rather than being retired.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there is that element as well. And I suppose there's only an early window of opportunity with long-term mortgages anyway, isn't there? For like interest-only stuff. You've only got up until a certain age to be able to get hold of those, or you'd have to be a limited company otherwise, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a few elements in there. So limited company wise is slightly different, obviously, to buying within your own name, and that would just deter on personal circumstance and what it is that your ultimate goal is, really. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of factors between those two. With regards to the buy to let mortgage, you can actually get buy to let mortgages up until 80s, 90s or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there's a few criteria of what it would tick the box. So now, as an example, I get charged slightly more because I'm classed as a portfolio landlord. So I've got more than 4 properties. So my percentage goes up because of that. It then goes up slightly because I'm in a limited company. So there are boxes and hurdles to kind of get through to make sure you're ticking the boxes. But yeah, you're kind of average Joe who would be buying a buy-to-let property. If it was, an interest-only buy-to-let mortgage, you can get them well up into your 80s, 90s.
I did not know that. Oh, that's definitely food for thought. And definitely helpful because I'm not going to
No, for
stop my
sure.
journey. I'm not going to stop my
And
journey.
that, I mean, that sort of criteria in the box that I was just looking to tick with the mentoring is for two reasons. One, because I'm absolutely, I'm passionate about the property and I love talking about it. My girlfriend's kind of response is, "Are you banging on about houses again?" So I need to find some other people to talk to about houses, which is ideal where the mentorship comes in. But then also that box where we discussed and talked about the mortgages is, a minimal income of £25,000 on an annual basis will tick a box that would help with the mortgage rates, and a vast amount of products to be able to choose from.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, it seems that lockdown so far has really proved extremely helpful. Is there anything like, especially in the beginning, was there anything that you really did struggle with, or stuff that I don't know, like you felt something within your mindset needed to kind of click for you to be able to deal with?
Um, I think it it would be almost the contact and just taken for granted, and I think I potentially have taken for granted seeing the family and friends that I would be used to just sort of popping in to see and working with and hanging out with, sort of thing. And that was the difficulty, is knowing that you're almost, I mean, it's kind of like a prison sentence in such, isn't it? We were aware we were going to be going into one property with whoever it was that we were kind of living with, and we were going to be there for the foreseeable future. So it's almost getting your head around and understanding that actually, I can make this work. I just need to adapt slightly. Going out for 45 minutes and FaceTiming parents and family and brothers, a niece, etc. It can work. You've just got to change it. You've just got to make it work, rather than sort of sitting and dwelling and getting upset about things that you're now missing.
And are you using anything that's helping with that communication? Are you like Zoom meetings or anything like that? Or
Yeah, so I've got parents on a call every evening just to sort of check in and make sure they're doing okay, and organising their weekly shopping for them. But with my business anyway, I'm very used to being online or on the phone, talking to clients, working with people that are at a distance away. Actually, one of my clients is over in Dubai, so being on Skype and FaceTime and chatting on WhatsApp and phone calls is quite normal for me. The difference really kind of would be on the sort of the personal side of it, away from the business side of it, because that then is usually face to face. So just not being able to see friends and family, etc., that kind of stuff. So that's where I've just sort of incorporated the transferable skills from what I do in my business, just to put on the family side of it, just to get involved, do those quizzes, those birthday parties online now, rather than going to them.
we had a Disney princess singing to my daughter for her birthday, which that went down very well.
Oh, brilliant.
So a little visit from Belle from Beauty and the Beast. And moving, so I mean, is there anything that you kind of, a real take home from lockdown, that you're thinking, I'm gonna keep that going. I want to build momentum with that, and that is a new norm for me.
Yeah, I always relied on a gym and a yoga class and a swimming pool, and felt, because that at the local gym that I went to, there was only yoga once a week on a Tuesday for an hour, sort of thing. But now, actually, anything that what I've really realised is that nothing outside of your house or outside of your normal routine, you have to rely on something else. You can always create it or make it happen wherever you are. So I would often, if I was away on business, if I was down in London, if I was based up in Manchester, that week I wouldn't be able to do my yoga because I was away from my gym. Whereas actually now, my yoga studio is on my phone. I turn her on, in the morning, just get cracking. All you need is a rug or a mat or whatever, and you can do it anywhere. So I think it's almost, I'd realised potentially I'd maybe put blockers or excuses in my life that, and don't get me wrong, they're not huge, but they're just small. Oh, I can't do that this week because of this. Whereas actually, let's remove the can't and think, how can I do it this week?
Yeah. And that's always making the time, and as opposed to thinking, I can't do it. Reposition your thinking and focus on what can you do and how can you achieve it. Which is a fantastic way to think, and I'm glad that there's a big take home there. The other thing as well, kind of on that, that communication element that we spoke about earlier, especially with business, do you think that we could be looking at a shift in the way things are done moving forward, especially with communication in business?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, my mentorship is all sort of online, digital anyway. So I don't necessarily see the clients. We don't meet. There's no sort of face-to-face contact. Everything's done by a weekly call on the phones. That can be video call or phone call, WhatsApp messages in almost, you know, the same way that you would kind of communicate with your friends. Now, what I think I sort of have noticed from this time is I was always in the mindset of, for business, it's very, very achievable. And for me, it's quite normal. I'm very much used to sort of managing teams from my corporate days at a distance. Whereas what I've really found now is you can actually really form and build those relationships on the family and the personal side of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with, you know, being able to keep in contact more and enhancing that side of it, to keep those relationships, or to build those relationships potentially further or more than you would do before.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we should be exploring anyway. And it's not going to have a negative effect, is it? It's going
No.
to give people more freedom, more time. And I think from a corporate standpoint as well, there's people are kind of working out they don't need to all be in the same room and under the same roof in you know, central London and stuff like that for them to be productive.
No, that's right. Definitely not. And I mean, even with us sort of sat here now, there's no reason why, there's no difference to us being sat in the same room, I guess. I can still see the same setting. I can still see your reactions and your emotions, and it's all still there. So, you know, to be driving for what, 3-4 hours, you know, between the north and the south to meet in a meeting room, there's so much time that can be spent there and used, you know, for other things. And, you know, money saved, time saved. So yeah, I think the beauty maybe is that maybe 50% or whatever of the population were quite used to it in the digital age of communicating in this way, whether for business or personal. But what this time has actually done is driven those that maybe were scared of it or didn't know about it. Certainly with my parents, you know, getting them on FaceTime now, they're a dab hand, you know, it's as if it's been there for years.
Yeah.
You would have asked them 3 months ago, oh my God, it would have been the end of the world trying to turn on a digital device and looking into a camera. And so I think it's maybe pushed those that were a little bit behind to be able to keep up with the modern times, and opened us up now a lot further for communication and business.
Yeah, they almost think that the online, the way that we communicate now has almost been fast forwarded like 10 years with older generations,
Yeah.
especially. You know, I think for the likes of people that have used this kind of software in the past, I have, and I know you have with what you do, it's, you know, it was no big deal. But then seeing my parents use this, seeing my friends that are, again, as you said, scared of calculators, let alone a Facebook account, it's
Yeah, of course.
incredible to see how people are actually adapting in these times. And I'd say one of the biggest take homes I've had lately is being blown away at how quickly the human race can adapt when it's forced to. And let's hope that it spells something for the future. Dan, just a quick one then. So we are going to come slowly towards a bit of a close. We're going to head towards the later part of the interview. Is there anything that you've kind of been doing, because you're at home with the girlfriend, and is there anything you're doing with friends or anything that's a little bit out of the blue? Any kind of like quizzes, games, or fun stuff that you've found have helped during this time?
So actually we had it was a birthday party we had online that's kind of dialed in friends and family, and we had a quiz on there as well. And then what I've sort of been doing with friends is there's online or giving it, what we've done is sort of giving it to a specific member of the group to be able to organise that meeting. So on a 2-weekly basis, it goes over to somebody else to do something. And come on, you know, found all these different apps. There was House Party came up once, and then Psych, I think it was, came up another time, and just random quizzes coming up here and there. So I think it really gets you thinking out of the box and potentially talking about and looking into and thinking about things that you wouldn't have done before. It makes you push a little bit further. It makes you look a little bit further out of the box to actually do something that is of value, rather than just being in somebody's presence. Maybe you can kind of sit there, you know, quietly, but on a screen, it's very difficult to sit there quietly or not to have something to do. So that's certainly where I've been looking with the friends is, you know, because we can't go out on our bikes or go, you know, snowboarding or skiing or doing whatever we might do together. The communication piece, and you know, that sort of interaction in other ways has come up, which has surfaced, you know, great other things that may not have been surfaced if we just carried on as we were.
Oh, yeah, I think one thing that we do as well as the nature of the way that human behaviour is, we find ways to entertain ourselves, and we come up with the most insane, crazy ideas. And you know, some of the things that I've heard, like especially the quiz ideas, with giving one person the responsibility to entertain everyone else. I love that. I think it's brilliant. And you know, deep down, that one person enjoys that pressure as well, because people try and outdo each other, right? They try.
That's it for sure.
Each time. Okay, so Dan, now there were a couple of questions I did say that I would ask you, and I will ask you, and I like to warn everyone because they are quite big ones. But first things first, has there anyone given you any advice or any tips that have really helped you through this time?
I think I take a lot of my inspiration from my mother, to be honest, and I don't know whether that would class her in her giving me tips or advice. But what I always see is and maybe this is where I sort of get my nature from, almost, is that there's never a dull day. So I think with human nature, often we will go down into almost a downward spiral of, you know, it being negative that we're in lockdown and, oh, it's so boring and it's so dull. Whereas what I get from my mum and the people I'm sort of surrounded by is that actually, you know, let's look at the positives. Like, what are we going to do with this? And there's never that downtime to have to actually think of what to do. It's like, oh, well, this is great because of. So I've been getting the daily updates of how it's amazing because they've been out in the garden and you know, they're rubbing down the garden furniture and sorting out the hedgerow that they haven't been able to sort out for the last 10 years. And the shed is getting painted and stained, and she's cleaned out the back room and this. And I'm just thinking, like, and I just kind of follow in suit of, you know, there's no time to dwell. Like, this time is absolutely precious. We'll never get this time again where we can actually, you know, focus on those big jobs that have been on the list for so long. And I would say maybe indirectly, she doesn't tell me or advise me, but I watch it and I see it, and I think, you know, that's the way to be. That's the mentality for sure. Yeah,
I massively agree with that as well. And just chipping away every day, chip away.
That's it.
Always working towards progression, and that keeps the mind healthy, I think.
That's it. Well, it's the compound effect, isn't it? Small, significant things on a daily basis create big results over time, I believe. Yeah.
I love that. There you go. I'm probably going to steal that, actually, the compound effect. Might even do a little chat on that later. And
Darren Hardy, I think it is, the book.
What's that?
I think that's the author. Darren Hardy, I think it is, the book. Compound Effect. Yeah, good one.
Let's go in the show notes, guys. Can have a little look at that. Any form of compounding is always fascinated me, to be honest, but it's probably a conversation for a whole different podcast, I would have thought. Dan, we've got one final question, and it's the big one. It's the one I end with every single time I do one of these podcasts. And that question to you is, if you could send a note back or travel back in time, or even send a little text message back to yourself at the beginning of lockdown, what would you say to yourself? What advice would you give yourself? And how could you help yourself if you could?
I remember for the first 3 weeks, actually, I was thinking, what am I going to use this time for? What am I actually going to achieve, and what can I achieve? What do I actually want to do? And I remember having a bit of a wander around and doing the smaller, sort of insignificant jobs, or the jobs. I always like to now look at a job or a task that needs doing and think, is it going to get me closer to my goal? And if the answer is no, I need to somehow get rid of it or get somebody else to do it. And I did a lot of those jobs at the start because I think I was finding my feet through this. And I remember walking around and around our sort of walking loop, and I said to my girlfriend, like, I need to put my mentorship online to be able to fish in a different pond for those clients out there that like to learn or prefer to learn themselves. But I'm just wondering, you know, how to do it. I don't know anything about which portals to use, etc. How do you start it? And it took me about 2 or 3 weeks or so just to kind of think about where I was going to start and what I was going to do. So I think my message back would be stop thinking and get it done. Like, get cracking straight away. This isn't going to last forever. The world is going to start moving very fast again, and you're going to miss this time when you can actually really get stuff done and really move a distance. Like, you can accomplish so much while there's no other distractions around you. So take full advantage of it while you possibly can. And I'm in that flow now, but I think I missed about maybe 3 or 4 weeks with maybe the procrastination of that blocker of not knowing where to look, what to do, what to research, how to start, where to go. So it would have been, you know, jumping at the deep end and let's get cracking early on.
Love that. Taking perfect action. I'm a big fan. In fact, if you were to go back to episode 1, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to taking imperfect action, because that interview was terrible. But with not the interviewee, by the way, interviewee. I was the interviewer. She was brilliant. Charlotte, you were fantastic for episode number 1. I was just a bit of a bumbling fool, but now I'm kind of finding my feet and I'm getting better. So Dan, quickly, where can we find you? So I believe, you know, you've got your mentorship program, you've got your book that you're working on. So where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, so it's under New to Property. So NEW, the number 2, and then property. So best place to find would be www.new2property.co.uk, and everything then can feed out of that.
Well, we'll put all of that in the show notes anyway, Dan. I'm going to do a bit of a close for these guys, but thank you so much for coming on board, and don't go anywhere because we'll chat afterwards. But I really do appreciate everything, and thank you very much, mate.
No, you're more than welcome.
So guys, we are coming to a close. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you found this has been helpful and you want to share this amongst your social circle, please use Facebook, Instagram, or whatever social platform you do use for the reason that it is there, and that's by sharing stuff. Just press that share button and get it out there. Alternatively, if you have really enjoyed this and you'd like to speak to us, please just put a comment in the comments bar below and we'll get back in touch with you within the next about 24 hours to 48 hours, depending on our time. So also, guys, please do keep it kind, keep it clean. And if you feel that you do have a voice, I've still got 30 spaces that I need to fill, and I want to listen to how you've decided to work throughout the COVID-19 lockdown of 2020. Guys, thank you so much for watching or listening. And Dan, thank you again. Don't go anywhere, and I'll see you soon.